You were so close. The project was almost finished. The relationship was finally calm. The good habit was 3 weeks strong and starting to feel like it was actually yours. And then somehow you undid it. You picked the fight that wasn't worth having. You missed the deadline you had all the time in the world for. You skipped the workout, reopened the old conversation, said the thing you swore you'd stop saying. And afterward, in the quiet, you asked the question almost everyone asks, what is wrong with me? Here's what I want you to sit with for the next few minutes. What if nothing is wrong with you? What if the part of you that pulled the plug wasn't trying to ruin your life, but trying in a clumsy and outdated way to protect it? Self-sabotage feels like you working against yourself, but underneath it's usually a defense doing its job a little too well. In the next 10 minutes, you'll see what that defense is actually guarding, why it strikes hardest in your most capable moments, and how to calm it down instead of fighting it. Let's start with the thing almost no one tells you. Most of us assume self-sabotage is about laziness or weakness or some flaw in our willpower. It isn't. Psychologist Martin Covington spent decades studying why capable people hold themselves back. What he found became known as self-worth theory. And the core idea is this: more than we want to succeed, we want to protect our sense of being worthy, of being good enough. Most people, Covington found, will go to extraordinary lengths to protect that feeling of worth, even when it costs them the very thing they're chasing. Because here's the trap. If you try with everything you have and you fail, the failure means something. It feels like a verdict on you. But if you don't fully try, if you start late, hold back, leave yourself an excuse, then failure doesn't count. You can always tell yourself you would have succeeded, if only. Self-sabotage is how you avoid a test you're afraid to fail. There's a study that shows this with almost uncomfortable clarity. In 1978, two researchers, Stephen Bergla and Edward Jones, brought people into a lab and gave them puzzles. Some were solvable, some were secretly impossible. Then everyone was told they'd done well. For half the group, the success made sense. For the other half, it didn't. They had succeeded on problems no one could solve. The praise felt unearned. Then came the real test. Before a second round, each person could choose a pill, one that supposedly improved performance or one that supposedly hurt it. Think about how strange that is. Who would choose the drug that makes them worse? The people who felt their success was real mostly chose the helpful one. But the people whose success felt fragile and unearned reached for the one that would hurt them. They were quietly building an excuse in advance. If they failed the next round, well, it was the pill, not them. Researchers call this self-handicapping, creating an obstacle so that failure can never touch the part of you that matters. And notice who did it. Not the people who felt like failures, the people who had just succeeded but didn't believe they deserved it. That feeling has a name too. Also in 1978, psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes kept hearing the same private confession from brilliant, accomplished people. I feel like a fraud. Sooner or later, everyone will find out I'm not as capable as they think. They called it the impostor phenomenon. And it isn't rare, and it isn't only women. It shows up in some of the most successful people you know. Here's why it matters. If deep down you believe your success is a kind of trick, then succeeding more doesn't feel safe. It feels like raising the stakes on a lie. Sabotage, strangely, relieves the tension. It pulls you back down to the level where you secretly think you belong. Long before any of these studies, Carl Jung described something underneath all of it. Jung said each of us carries a shadow, made of the parts of ourselves we've pushed out of sight. The wants, the fears, the pieces we were taught were unacceptable, so we buried them. But buried doesn't mean gone. What we refuse to look at doesn't disappear. It runs the show from behind the curtain. It leaks out in our reactions, our projections, and yes, our self-sabotage. So sometimes you destroy the good thing because, somewhere you can't quite see, a part of you doesn't believe a person like you gets to keep it. That's not a flaw in your character. That's an old wound, still trying to keep the story consistent. Most self-sabotage isn't dramatic, though. Usually it looks like the smallest word in the world: later. Researchers Fushia Sirois and Timothy Peichel studied procrastination and found something surprising. Procrastination isn't really a time management problem. It's an emotion problem. When a task makes you anxious, putting it off gives you instant relief. The bad feeling lifts. For a moment, you feel better. The catch is who pays for that relief. Not you now, the future you, the one who has to do it all later, with less time and more dread. Procrastination is mood repair you borrow against tomorrow. A tiny act of self-sabotage that feels in the moment like self-care. So here is the most important thing in this video. Self-sabotage is not you being your own enemy. It's an old protector using outdated tactics, trying to keep you safe from one specific pain. The pain of trying with your whole heart and still falling short. That part of you isn't broken, it's loyal. It just learned the wrong lesson a long time ago. That the safest way to never be hurt is to never fully show up. And once you see that, the whole thing changes. Because you don't fight a frightened protector. You don't win by calling yourself lazy or weak. That just confirms the fear. You calm it. Here's what that looks like. First, catch the moment. Self-sabotage almost always strikes right before something good. The finish line, the commitment, the win. The flinch comes just before the reward. Learn to notice that flinch. Second, name what you're protecting. Say it plainly. If I finish this and it's judged, I'm afraid of what that says about me. Naming the fear takes away its power to act in the dark. Third, separate your worth from the outcome. This project can fail. You are still worthy. When those two come apart, there's nothing left to protect, and the sabotage loses its job. Fourth, if the imposter feeling is loud, say it out loud to one person you trust. The fraud feeling shrinks the moment it's spoken. Secrets keep it strong. And finally, when you feel the urge to put something off, take the smallest possible step before the mood passes. Not the whole thing, just one move. That single step breaks the loop because it tells your brain the task didn't have to be survived. It just had to be started. So this week, watch for one thing. The next time you're close to something good and you feel that quiet urge to flinch, to delay, to pick the fight, to pull the plug, don't judge it. Just say, gently, I see what you're doing, and I'm safe. Then take one small step forward anyway. That sentence and that step are how the old protector finally learns that it can rest. New video every Friday. If this helped you understand something about yourself, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.